Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me is Jacob Carter, the UK head at Farmai Holdings, also the manager of Whiskey Bull Auctions. Jacob, great to speak with you again. And we're talking about investing in high-end whiskey. Can you take us through the benefits?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. And it's great to speak with you again as well, Stephen. Why invest in high-end whiskey? They are a great, excellent long-term investment with low correlation with traditional markets. Now, if you have the liquidity for it, investing in high-end whiskey is a great way to diversify your long-term investments with a tangible asset. Now, some people would be put off by the high prices of some of these whiskey bottles as they don't understand why it's priced the way it is. And age, scarcity, and heritage are the big categories to be looked into for these bottles when you're collecting them.
Can you give us some examples of high-end bottles that appreciated at auction, Jacob?
Of course, yes. So some examples of significant value appreciation in whiskies are, I would say, the 1961 Bowmore 50-year-old, where in 2020 at auction, you'd be looking at around £53,000 for one of those bottles. After 2022, when one sold for £80,000, that's an increase of around 48% in just 2 years. It's the same for the 1940 Macallan Lalique 72-year-old, where in 2021 you look at around £87,000 for it purchased at auction, and then in 2022. £122,000 when it was purchased in auction, which shows an increase of just over 40%, which is a wonderful growth in a short amount of time for that. Now, if you can get your hands on any of the prize whiskies that you can do some research on, great age, great heritage, you could have secured yourself a mini fortune. Now, you can relish a luxurious drink by popping open one of these bottles, whereas if you've kept them and they're in amazing condition, they could deliver incredible returns in the long run. For instance, Macallan have a folio series that they're still currently releasing. They're up to folio 7 at the moment. The folio 1 was released in 2015 with an RRP of around £150. Now, if you wanted to buy the folio 1 at auction alone, you could be looking at spending between £9,000 and £11,000 on that singular bottle. If you had a whole set of the 1 through 7, you could be looking between £20,000 and £24,000 at auction if you sold them at the moment. So it really does show, if you're prepared to do your research, keep an eye on releases, you can grow your collection to be a wonderful long-term investment. Another example of this would be the old Rip Van Winkle 25-year-old. Now, this was released in 2017. You'd pay £1,400. It was sold in 2023 for just over £20,000 at auction. So, as stated, high-end whiskey, if you're not afraid to really get involved, really do your research. And one of the reasons we're here as a company as well is to help you do this. You could really be setting yourself in for a small fortune.
Obviously helping with the collections and the valuations there at Farmai, Jacob. And we've spoken before, and you've said it's a seller's market at the moment. So, are you still able to achieve great returns at the moment?
Yes, yeah. So as discussed previously, like you said, we have spoken about the sellers market that's currently here at the moment. It doesn't mean that some whiskies aren't making great returns at auction on the release prices, or even the potential price that you could have paid as a collector. It's all about research and keeping in mind that certain bottles are very sought after for a reason. Those very old bottles, or the bottles with a release of under 500, or even some bottles with a release of under 2000. Now, one of these bottles that has performed tremendously is the Black Bowmore. There was 3 releases of this bottle, first in 1993. The second was in 1994, and then the third was in 1995. There was a total of, I think, around 5,800 bottles, and they were released to retailers over that 3-year period. Now, the first release, you to kind of state the point, the recommended retail price when released was between £70 and £120, and that was in 1993 from the first release. Now you could be looking at around £10,000 at auction for that bottle. The second £1,000 per bottle, and the same for the third release as well. So if you were lucky enough to get one of those bottles at release, it really does show that the potential gold mine that some people are sitting on. You know, some people have been collecting whiskey bottles for years, and we're, as stated, always here to help people with knowledge about their whiskey collections, potential valuations, just to kind of make people more aware of what a great investment opportunity whiskey is.
Well, let's hope those with deep pockets are looking at some of those high-end brands that you mentioned. Jacob, thank you very much, as always, for your insights.
Anytime, and lovely speaking with you, Stephen.
And with you, that's Jacob Carter. He is from Farm My UK.